and welcome to another Sail the World. I'm in Fremantle in Western Australia, where it's all systems go again in the Whitbread Round the World race. And today, the yacht set off on leg 3 to Auckland.
And I'm at Earl's Court, where the annual London International Boat Show, the world's best, is in full swing. You know, it really is special this year, celebrating its 40th anniversary. As always, there's a bumper lineup, 600 exhibitors and around 800 craft. The centrepiece is the Sail Scotland feature, promoting the Scottish West Coast, from the Firth of Clyde to Argyll, a beautiful cruising area. Well, the show continues every day until next Sunday.
Back here in Fremantle, the excitement is building as the crews make their last-minute preparations for the start of the Whitbread. Britain's Laurie Smith set the race buzzing by skippering Intrum Justitia to victory in leg 2. But competition is fierce, and he'll be hard-pressed to maintain that success. The crews have spent the last month getting mind and body, keel and mast together. Refreshed and repaired, humans and boats are now ready for the next challenge, a tight tactical sprint across to Auckland. It's the shortest leg in the race, but complacency hasn't set in. Laurie Smith is out to spoil the party for the Kiwi skippers who are passionate about reaching their home port first.
Of course, yeah, I mean, I'd love to spoil the party. I mean, hopefully they'll be worrying about each other a bit more than maybe worrying about us, so we may be able to sneak away somewhere. But like I say, I expect it to be very close, down to the last maybe 100 yards.
Laurie has 3 Kiwi skippers to look out for. Ross Field of Yamaha has replaced his navigator to avoid further tactical errors. Grant Dalton, whose luck ran out on New Zealand Endeavour with a broken mizzenmast in the last leg, and Chris Dixon of Tokyo in the lead overall after 2 legs.
We don't intend being conservative in the next leg, so really I think we're sitting very comfortable and quite relaxed about what we have to do. Others really have got a lot to catch up.
We want to be first into Auckland. It's you know, it's the highlight of the trip, other than winning the race overall. We wanted to win every leg. We can't do that now, but we'd like to continue on our winning way. And then you've got boats like La Posse, for example, change of some crew, change of skipper. The new skipper will want to prove himself. Yamaha's had crew problems. They'll want to, you know, get a good leg. Tokyo wants to try and extend its leg. Interim wants to catch Tokyo. And, you know, this is as the legs go on, so the options to win the race decrease. And so everybody's looking for a good leg.
One name Dalton left out is Dennis Conner, the American sailing legend, who, after missing leg 2, returns to skipper the yacht Winston to Auckland. This giant of the yachting world breezed into Fremantle to announce he's on a diet in preparation for the next Olympic Games in Atlanta.
Realistically, I'd have to lose about 70 pounds to be competitive in the relatively light winds and off Savannah. So I think if I could make the commitment to myself and lose the weight, that it would be fun to try to upgrade from the bronze to the gold in the Olympics.
The champagne flowed for the women's boat. After all their problems, including a change in skipper, a new sponsor has waded in to salvage their campaign.
We've got some brand new sails, we've got some new used sails, we've got all new rigging, we've got anything that was broken that needed to be fixed has been fixed.
Good news for the women, but disappointment for Sue Crafer from Essex. She's off the boat for this leg only to make way for a Dutch girl the sponsors want aboard for the rest of the race. The forecast for the start is for fine and windy weather, but a storm could be blowing in Auckland shortly. There, the international jury sits to redress the time refunds for the yachts La Poste and Winston, who went to the aid of Brooksfield in the Southern Ocean.
Well, back here at the London International Boat Show, I'm joined by Tracy Edwards, skipper of Maiden last time. Tracy, what are your memories of leg 3?
Well, of course, leg 3 was very good for Maiden. Although we had already won the second leg into Australia, I think some people thought that was a bit of a fluke. So we really felt that we had to prove ourselves on the third leg into New Zealand. And, of course, coming first in our class, we did just that.
What characterises this shortest leg of the Whitbread?
I think some people, you know, sort of find it very easy to say, oh, you know, this is a short, quick leg, you know, it's going to be simple. It's not. It's quite a complicated weather system. And, I mean, really the Southern Ocean, you know, is sort of quite, we found, away from reality because you're doing a long haul, you know, deep in the Southern Ocean. Whereas doing the third leg really brings you back to the real racing because it's very close. And, you know, we spent a lot of time looking at the other boats we were racing against last time. And I think that makes you go faster as well.
Who could forget those amazing close pictures of Steinlager and Fisher and Peichel slugging it out on that leg?
That's right. Of course, the Maxes were really close on the last race, as were the smaller boats. And I think on this leg, we're going to find that the Maxes aren't going to be able to pull away so far from the Whitbread 60s. I think the Whitbread 60s are probably going to be in sight of each other for, you know, maybe the entire leg.
How do you think Laurie Smith will approach this leg?
Well, I think this leg could be a very good leg for Laurie Smith and Interim Justicia. I think, you know, he knows the boat now, he knows his crew, he's shaped them into the team that he wants. And now he's going to concentrate on fighting a tactical battle during the third leg. They'll be very close racing, and I think he will really enjoy racing against Chris Dixon and Dennis Connors, you know, so I think it'll be a very close battle and lots to fight for on that leg.
Tracy, thanks very much. Sadly, one yacht still struggling to make an impact is the sole British entry, Dolphin in Youth. They've dropped to 12th overall after their rudder problems in the Southern Ocean. But as Sally Simmons reports, Matthew Humphreys and the lads are still smiling.
They're the youngest crew ever to take part in a Whitbread, and definitely the happiest. The cold and the wet doesn't worry them in the slightest. They just love their sailing and say nothing beats surfing down huge waves. They're very proud to be doing their lifetime's ambition while they're all still in their early 20s. But when their rudder fell off during the second leg, cutting their speed down to a crawl, they knew they'd blown any chance of winning this race. But when the chips are down, the Dolphin crew keep on smiling.
The crew morale is very high, considering.
I've had enough. I'm hanging up my sailing clubs. That's it. Finito. Taxi!
Hey, is the glacier good?
Yeah, great.
So we're all going to go skiing?
I need trees that I can hang myself on, Bob.
They only go a little bit slower than we do, glaciers, you know? Glaciers only go a little bit slower than we do.
Oh look, there's Odessa.
Life goes on.
The French boat Le Poste won plenty of praise and thanks for its dramatic search and rescue of Brooksfield in the Southern Ocean. Le Poste, as its name implies, is partly crewed by French postal workers, but there's an Englishman who's giving the cause first-class service as well. From riding the rollers of the Southern Ocean to rollerblading on the quayside at Fremantle, Ivan Bunner from Runcorn in Cheshire is adept at both. The 27-year-old is no newcomer to the Whitbread. He was on the boat Liverpool Enterprise in the last race. But when he isn't on the water, his preferred method of transport is blading.
They're fun. Not everybody. I suppose it's a bit unconventional, but no, I love them. It turns the city into a playground. It's really good.
But play time is limited. The crew has been buckling down to the serious business of equipment testing, and there have been major changes in the ranks, starting at the top. Eric Taberley, here on the helm, arguably France's most famous yachtsman, has been brought in over the head of skipper Daniel Mallet. 4 other crew members were dropped, but Ivan kept his place and his faith with the French.
I think we've always been competitive. We've just had problems that have stopped us before. The boat's always been fast. First leg we broke our mast, and that was very, very difficult. And then the last leg we had to do a rescue for the Italian yacht, so the race stopped effectively. So maybe some people have a surprise. I don't think it's time to write the team off yet.
And there's one good reason for being an Englishman abroad with the French: the food.
We've actually got freeze-dried garlic. We've got that. Well, I think it's powdered garlic we've got on board.
And do they use it liberally?
Oh yeah, sure.
But when it comes to singing French love songs, I think even he would agree he's Ivan the Terrible. Back on the quayside, this was the scene just before the yachts departed from their temporary home, the Fremantle Sailing Club. A melee of mums, wives, girlfriends and well-wishers all turned out to say their fond and tearful farewells.
Shouldn't worry so much.
Well, you're not one, I'm entitled to worry.
Parting is sad, but in this case the split is brief. The first boat should be arriving in Auckland in about 10 days' time, in another rush of excitement and scenes of jubilation. We'll take a break now, but don't go away. Coming up with all the action and excitement of the restart here in Fremantle, and have your pen and paper ready for our competition. Stay with us. Welcome back to Sail the World. Here in Fremantle in Western Australia, we're all set for leg 3 of the Whitbread Round the World race, just over 3,000 miles to Auckland in New Zealand. Commentary from Tracy Edwards and Gareth Evans.
But first, these are the overall positions so far. The Whitbread 60 Tokyo has a 3-hour advantage over the leading Maxi New Zealand Endeavour. Britain's Laurie Smith on interim, winner of the second leg, is lying 5th, 14 hours behind Tokyo. The Women's Challenge renamed Heineken, a 10th in the fleet, with Dolphin a disappointing 12th following their rudder problems in the Southern Ocean.
And a beautiful day here in Fremantle as we come up to the start. And there goes the start gun and all the boats on the line up to windward. We can see Tokyo and Interim Justicia. Brooksfield have got off to a very good start as well. And down to leeward we have New Zealand Endeavour. Interim Justicia with the yellow spinnaker up there. Laurie Smith definitely wanting to make up a lot of ground on this leg. He definitely wants to get into New Zealand first and also put a few more hours between him and Winston.
Interim, remember, led the fleet out of Punta del Este in the last leg. The wind, known as the Fremantle Doctor, blowing 20 to 25 knots from the southwest, so the spinnakers will be up to the first turning mark 5 miles away off Cottesloe Beach.
Dolphin and Youth, Matthew Humphreys will definitely want to have a good leg to Auckland, New Zealand. He had a very disappointing second leg through no fault of their own, of course. They had big problems with the rudder and had to go into the Kerguelen Islands, so he'll want to make up a lot of time.
And that's the spectacle of Fremantle Harbour. Hundreds of spectator boats have joined the Whitbread yachts to send them on their way.
Due to the wind direction, they're almost dead downwind, the boats here now, and Winston has jibed right out, I think, to escape the dirty air. Having a few problems with their spinnaker there. Probably got a bit rusty being in port for a month, I think. Dennis Connor back on the boat, of course, after missing the second leg. Back on for the sunny leg to Auckland, New Zealand.
And another new boy is Eric Taboulet, arguably France's most famous yachtsman. Would you believe it's 62? He's been invited to join Daniel Malley on La Poste. And already he's made a difference. Look, he's ahead of Tokyo.
This is Heineken, and what a shame. After such a good start, they've got their spinnaker wrapped around the headstay. If they don't get that unfurled very quickly, they're going to have some damage, and they're definitely falling behind. And they've torn the spinnaker. You can see the spinnaker torn along the bottom. They'll have to get that down before they can make up any headway at all.
But here's the new leader, New Zealand Endeavour, skippered by Grant Dalton. What he would give to be first into Auckland, his hometown.
And doesn't the Maxi look superb there? Dolphin and Youth off to not a very good start, unfortunately. Matthew Humphreys has got a lot of time to make up. I don't think he can hope to catch the leaders overall, but he could do very well getting into New Zealand if they have some heavy air.
Dennis Connor on Winston being chased by a boat. He won't be very happy about that. It doesn't look as though his early jibe has paid off. I think he's dropped back in the fleet.
Merritt's had a very good start this time, and she's having a duel with Interim Justicia. Laurie Smith likes this view of Merritt behind him. He likes close call racing, so he'll be very happy in these conditions. They had that amazing run of 24 hours, the record on the second leg, and he'll be looking to better that and also to do better against Tokyo.
The fleet beginning to space out a bit now as they approach the first turning mark off the beautiful beach of Cottesloe, Perth.
And New Zealand Endeavour have taken down their mizzen spinnaker. It looks like they're going to jibe. Yep, the pole's down and they're going over. Oh, something's gone wrong. They're having to go back. They haven't got the pole over fast enough and the guy is caught. That is not a successful jibe, but we're having a few mistakes today.
It is all a bit scrappy, isn't it? What do you put it down to?
I think that's too much time in port and too much partying, maybe.
The Swiss boat Merit Cup, skippered by Pierre Fellman, the second Maxi overall, but winning the second leg from Punta del Este after New Zealand Endeavour lost her mizzen. And what a great sight there, Tokyo surfing.
Eric Taberley, the gentleman of the Whitbread Round the World race, looks to be enjoying himself there. And here we have New Zealand Endeavour. They've obviously sorted out their jibing problems, and they've got their headsail up, so they must be getting towards the mark.
And those are the three leaders. New Zealand Endeavour ahead of Intrum and Merit. Not much to separate those two yachts. Two maxis against a Whitbread 60.
Intrum Justitia, and in front of Laurie Smith, the smiling face of Magnus Olsen. I only saw him stop smiling once, and that was at the beginning of the fourth leg when the mizzenmast of the card came down.
New Zealand Endeavour preparing to round the first turning mark, dropping their spinnaker. Slightly sluggish crew work yet again.
Yes, it does seem as if the crews really are having problems with this. Well, it's dead downwind, and they're having problems taking the spinnakers in and also jibing, and possibly the fact that they haven't been out on the water for a few weeks, but they're definitely coming up to the mark first. It looks like they've got Yamaha quite close behind them, with Merit starting to take her spinnaker down, and here they come round the Heineken mark, which is just off HMS Geraldton. And now they'll start the fetch to Rottnest, which is the America's Cup mark.
And Pierre Fellman on Merit Cup has won his duel with Laurie Smith on Intrum to be second around the mark. 20 seconds behind New Zealand Endeavour.
And they're bringing in the headsail there. They'll be looking for as much speed now to maybe try and catch up with New Zealand Endeavour on this leg.
First Whitbread 60 to round the turning mark is Intrum Justitia, just inside of La Poste with Eric Taberley at the helm. What a difference he's made already to the performance of this boat.
The yachts are very close at this mark. The next boat to round the buoy is Yamaha. Bit of a mess with the sails there. They've got them hanging all over the deck, and behind her Tokyo. Headsail's flogging a bit, but they're packing their spinnaker away there.
Skipper Chris Dixon, another veteran of the 1987 America's Cup, held here, and one of 4 Kiwi skippers vying to be first into Auckland.
Brooksfield, the next Whitbread 60 to round the mark, doing a bit better after her disaster during the last leg. She lost her rudder, and here we have Galicia going round next, a bit slow pulling that spinnaker in, and there's a real duel going on here between Winston and Dolphin and Youth, and I think Matthew Humphreys will be very pleased with himself. He is actually going round the buoy in front of Winston, and I don't think Dennis Connors will be too happy about that. Seem to be having a few problems with that spinnaker again, taking it down. They're packing it away down the hatch now, and they'll have the headsail up. They'll be pulling the headsail in and setting off on the fetch now to Rottnest.
It's almost unbelievable how bad Dennis Connor has done in these waters, which he knows so well.
It's very difficult for the continuity of the crew, I think, when the skipper changes on each leg.
Yamaha still having problems with that spinnaker, getting it away, and their headsail's flogging.
And it looks like Tokyo's really made the most of that, and they've come up to windward of them.
Now here come the tail enders. The Ukrainian entry Hetman, interestingly enough, left the harbour 24 hours earlier than the others for a settling-in period. Apparently it's something they gleaned from the Soviet submarine corps to make their crewmen more sharp the following day. Doesn't seem to have worked in their case, though.
No, they're probably pretty tired by now, I would have thought. And what a beautiful picture of New Zealand Endeavour reaching away from the rest of the fleet. The sea seems to be churning up there a bit, and we can see the rest of the fleet with Merit slightly behind New Zealand Endeavour. This is a great point of sail for the Maxes, this reach, with their mainsails up and their mizzen sails up. And a lovely shot of Merit here. You can see all the crew up on the windward side. They'll be trying to put as much weight up on the windward side as possible. And slightly behind Merit, we have La Poste, her sister ship, and they'll be making the most of these sailing conditions, because when they round Rottnest Island and head south to Cape Llewellyn, they'll really be beating into the wind right into the Australian Bight.
And you can see just how uncomfortable a ride that is. A fantastic shot of Intrum punching into the waves, and believe you me, they could be facing many more days of this during the 3,200 miles to Auckland. Well, hopefully the colour and spectacle of that restart has whetted your appetite for sailing. And you know, there's plenty here at the London International Boat Show at Earl's Court to interest any enthusiast. For those who prefer power to sail, £500,000 will buy this Manhattan 58. Despite recessionary times, Sunseeker, based in Dorset, can still sell one boat for nearly every day of the year.
People will only accept the best. I've had people come out today and say to me, how can people afford luxurious things like this? Well, if we hadn't have developed them, we wouldn't have found the market elsewhere in the world. But you have to produce a very special product to get those markets.
£500,000 sounds a lot, but it's half the price of a Whitbread 60, and you don't get ski boats with those. There are 800 boats on display worth around £40 million. Craft to race around the world or around your local sailing club. Traditional styles for the conservative, fast and colourful boards for the more daring. But most money changes hands in the maze of stalls selling boat bits. There are instruments, gadgets and gizmos at bargain prices. It's the January sales in boating. But everyone who comes through the door at Earl's Court escapes to Fantasyland for a moment, maybe as the skipper of a luxury yacht in the Mediterranean.
Extreme stuff, really, and it's something that, you know, I mean, somebody like me would never ever have until I get little Woods check-in.
We just want to have a look,
Just have a look,
see how
really.
the other half is.
Yeah.
A bit of a thrill. It's like looking at big cars, big expensive houses. You know, it's something we don't have, and it's good fun. It's a bit of a thrill. If you like boats, you know, why don't you like to see the big ones?
No one knows if you've £500,000 to spend, so why not have those salesmen pandering to you for a while?
Heavy rain will accelerate Earth movements once again. That's why people living on the cliff edge are being advised to leave their homes, but a handful are refusing to budge. Isle of Wight MP Barry